Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, good morning. So we will go ahead and get started today. If you do have cell phones, could you please put those on vibrate or silent? Today is a day dedicated to our fire department. So we are today going to hear some updates from fire, and then we're going to have fireworks or enhanced enforcement ordinance update from Battalion Chief and then I have a few updates towards the end. So we'll go ahead and get started this morning. Thank you all for being here. Today's a little cooler. Make sure that you are starting to wash those hands, because if it continues to go from warm to cold, folks will start getting sick. So make sure you do that. But we'll have our fire department come up. I used to play football with two of those guys in the back.
Yay.
They said they did a good job blocking for him, so they still. Well, welcome this morning. My name is Lieutenant Armstrong, and work up at the Firehouse 10. Been there for a number of years since the station opened. This month in particular is an important month. The 7th starts Fire Prevention Week, and I'm going to go over some things with you about that. And Halloween's coming up, so we'll talk about a little bit about some safety tips. But first off, I'll talk about some of our yes, ma'am. Is that better? Okay. Talk a little bit about our activity within our district. The months of September and August, we've got around 500 runs, and each month, an average about five structure fires, and about 150, 160 medical calls each month, and then other various calls. Right now, we currently have a recruit class going on where we have 12 new recruits, and that's a great thing we got going on, and they should be coming out here in a few months. Another thing that comes along with this month is time changes coming up. We need to be mindful of that. Change out your batteries, check your smoke detectors, and CO, everything like that. One of the things about those detectors and alarms and whatnot is making sure that you check the date on them. They have an end of life, beep that will come along, and some of those are anywhere from 7 to 10 years, which is depending upon the manufacturer. So just checking those, so when you, yes ma'am.
And you're speaking specifically of CO detectors, or
No,
all
just
detectors?
smoke, yeah, just all detectors in general. The ones that you generally purchase, they have that, because they'll have that date on there, and like I said, if it starts to get around the, 6-year mark, you just kinda wanna look at that, but most of the time it's anywhere from 7 to 10 years, but
Is
I'd
that
say.
for hardwired units as well?
Usually, yeah,
Okay.
because usually they'll have a backup battery in them, so.
Thanks.
That's one of the things. Like I said, Fire Prevention Week starts the 7th, so you'll start to see a little more activity in schools and things like that, and other events going on to help educate the community. We also on a different note, we were awarded the SAFER grant, in which they're going to add a 5th truck company to the city of Wichita, and with that, we'll be able to hire another recruit class of 12 firefighters here I believe in February.
Yay.
Yeah, nice.
And when I was also mentioning a little bit about with Halloween, the end of this month, there'll be a lot of kids in the streets and everything like that, a little more activity. So everybody just be a little more mindful of that particular night, and hopefully have a safe, fun night. You guys have any questions for me? Yes, sir.
Just the 12 recruits that you was mentioning, is that citywide or just District 1?
Yes, citywide, sir. Yes, yes. Yes, ma'am.
Will you give that number out for people who can get free fire extinguishers, free batteries?
Yes, ma'am. I do not have that number here with me, but I will get it to you before I leave.
268-4441.
Here, on top of it. All right, let me write that down.
What is
We
it?
we don't give out free fire extinguishers, but, if you own your own home, we can get you a,
Not fire extinguisher, fire smoke alarm.
there you go.
Yes.
A smoke alarm. I just wanna make
My
sure we're
bad.
not giving out fire extinguishers.
And we'll make sure.
Smoke alarms and, carbon monoxide, you have to request,
Yeah,
carbon monoxide if they are available.
if they are available. Some of them are dual, both carbon monoxide and smoke alarms, so.
Or is that
Yes,
just
sir.
the,
Well, those fire extinguishers, the ones basic, you know, your little house units you put in there, those little, like here, can you guys, check those? The reason I ask, and they got a little gauge when it tells you when it's full, and it's starting to creep down. Well, I purchased some here, and this was in the last couple of months in here, like Walmart.
Yes, sir.
Most of them already at the halfway, already at the lower end
Yes.
of,
Well, and those, and like I said, those smaller ones, the small little kitchen ones like that, I mean, when those gauges and everything, that's what you go off of as far as, those go, those other ones, they come in and, we inspect yearly, annual check. Those will, have to be inspected, but I'd have to find out a little bit more information on those ones, because there's different manufacturers and different brands for the smaller ones.
Can I
Yes, sir.
make a comment? Commercial fire extinguishers are required to be inspected every year, but we don't do the inspection. They're done by, companies, like Kansas Fire Equipment and Marmec. In your home though, if that extinguisher is not in the green, and it just was a few months ago, I would suggest you return it for a refund. The ones you buy at Walmart and so forth, I hesitate to say this, but the ones that are Kitty brand have a reputation for, losing their, propellant inside the extinguisher. So, the ones that have the plastic insert, the head of it is inserted in, is plastic into the bottle versus the metal, tend to leak by a little bit, so. We don't do the inspection part, but when we do inspection of the building, we make sure it's in the green. If it isn't, we ask them to have that taken care of. We don't, do the yearly inspection on those.
okay, so are there ones that can be refilled?
Yes, in fact, if you go to, Home Depot, Walmart, or whatever, if you look for commercial, refillable on the side of the box, and that will be, noted on the box. And,
You do it, you refill?
no, we don't, sir. Yeah, so one of the companies, you see a tag on one of these extinguishers in the building, that particular company would do it in our area, so, but we don't do the refilling.
so there's a Mildred in our area that you can bring it to, and
But what, man?
a Mildred, that's the company you're talking about?
Marmec, there's Kansas Fire, I know, Kansas Fire is down in the, Delano district, but, you have to go in the phone book, if you still have a phone book, or on Google. But, and find out what companies do inspections, and they'll charge, I think, $5 to $6 for that, but if you take it to them, if they come to you, there's usually a trip charge.
So last question here, seems like you guys are partnering with somebody with these extinguishers, with these detectors and stuff, and you give them out free, so somebody give you a discount and give them to you free. So maybe, if we could kind of, you guys would help us investigate a partnership in one of these on these commercial systems. You know, it's one thing to go buy one and, every year or two, because it's been leaked out, you gotta go buy another one in here. So it's more encouraging if I got one in my house in here, that I check it annually and know that, okay, if you got a certificate or something, you can go get it refilled, and somewhere to maybe give you a discount.
Well,
That would be a benefit to us.
We could look into that. A extinguisher that's refillable tends to run from $50 to $80.
Yeah, and that, the Walmart run about 20.
Yeah. You get what you pay for on that. We do recommend you have those extinguishers in your home, so, very important, so.
It's been leaked out, and I'm getting ready to use it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I heard something about you're supposed to take a rubber mallet and like bang the sides of your extinguishers with a
The,
rubber mallet to make sure that the,
No, you're
fluffy
right.
stuff
You're actually
is
right.
like not stuck to, well, you know what I'm saying,
No,
whatever.
you're right. The dry powder within the extinguisher will settle out over time and form at the bottom. And that's why when, these companies come out and do an inspection on commercial fire extinguishers for a business, they take them out to the little van and you hear a whack, whack, whack sound, and they've got a rubber mallet and they're loosening it. Now, that's done on a yearly basis. They'll do pressure tests on every 6 to 7 years. But And then they'll sit there, I do that on my own extinguishers at home. If you have them in your car, they settle out even more, because if you pump them down the road, they settle out. And about every time I open my trunk, I take my fist and bang the bottom of it and shake it a little bit and so forth. That's a good point, honestly.
I had
But that doesn't help you with the.
yeah, I know, it doesn't help with the propellants,
It
but,
doesn't help with the propellant, and that's a matter of, quite honestly, you get what you pay for, so.
Here again, guys, in the mention, we talked about fireworks and fires and all these things that come along. You know, even though they cost a little bit more in the initial investment in here, if I can get them refilled, or any of us, you can reiterate that, if you can get them refilled this year, I think that saves us both in the long run here. I'd rather spend $50 and know that fireworks will be around the next 20 years, and I have a fire extinguisher on my home. Annually, Brandon brings us up, hey, this is the month for refills. Go down and take them down there and get them refilled, get yours checked. And we got a certificate, if you get this much, it's like trash. We got a month to go get it done. Then I think we'd go do it.
Something to consider. And I want to apologize to Lieutenant Armstrong for taking over his presentation.
his feelings look all hurt. I know.
We're a team, yes, ma'am.
So I know that there had been some talk about, staffing numbers and stuff like that, and you're talking about new 12 firemen. Is that new information to those previous staffing levels, or is that, already had been taken into account? There was something like 96 people on staff at any time in a day versus 112 was the supposed to number. Do you have update on where that is?
Honestly, I don't have the exact answer for you, because some of that stuff is.
Fluid.
Yeah, right now it's possibly going to change a little bit.
Yes, sir.
And the exact time frame in which that is going to happen, I'm not sure. I'm guessing by the next meeting, we'll probably have a little more information coming up. So, because some of that stuff will be moving a little more quickly after the first of the year.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Great. The rest I'm gonna let you go.
I got till 7 in the morning, let's do it.
So, we brought up a couple of issues and some suggestions, maybe the collaboration with yours and the refill people and stuff. I think they listen more from it coming from your perspective here, so, we'll give you a couple months, can you bring us a report back of what they said?
Okay, well, yeah, I feel like, we.
No, I'm with the fire, I'm with,
Yes.
fire prevention division, so I'll look into it, and I can, ask, the next crew that comes in here, if I can't make it, give you a line on that, okay?
I like to push that in my neighborhood, that, hey, guys, this is the money, go get your things refilled.
Well, if, I'm actually quite pleased that you actually looked at even the pressure on your extinguisher. I'm disappointed that it didn't maintain the pressure, so.
You know, guys, every time I look at this thing, and it's half empty already, and I gotta take it back to the store and go buy a quart to find one that's full, then I'm less likely to even go buy it. And if it sits in my house, and I look, and the hell now it's in the red, I'm not gonna spend another $20, I ain't even used it, I'm gonna say, well, if I ain't used it in 5 years, I probably won't need it.
Well, the companies that service fire extinguishers will not do service. For example, you ask it for a refill, they won't do service on a kitty.
I don't wanna go on a kitty, I wanna go invest in a good one.
Then
I
you may
wanna
not
know
have a
that-
problem with it having to be refilled, but yeah, we'll look into it and get a
Ask for
response.
the discount, boy, that's the key. All right.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you, good job. All right, well, continuing with the fire, we'll have our battalion chief come up. So again, for those who may not have been aware, this year we changed the enforcement part of our ordinance. So a lot of what was banned has been banned for more than 20 years, but we're actually enforcing now. So he's gonna give an update to what the enforcement looks like. This presentation was given to our district advisory board on Monday, and they gave us some feedback. So I wanna encourage you, after you hear this presentation, to also give feedback. The fire department is looking for that. So is police, and all of the council members are going to, look into what feedback was gathered from these presentations as we look at going into next year, whether we keep the ordinance the same or we change it. All of that is dependent upon your feedback. So if you don't say anything, then you're just okay with what we're doing. If we change it, you're okay with that. If you like how it is, please say so. If you don't like how it is, please say so. If you see something in this presentation or hear something that concerns you, be sure to highlight that, not only to fire and police, but to all your council members as well, not just me. I like to share information to other council members, but it's also powerful when you just email it yourself. So I will share it, but please make sure you reach out to all the council members and give the feedback that you have from this presentation. So, I'll turn it over. Okay, and, you'll have index cards and ink pens to send in your feedback too, and we'll get all of that typed up and, turned in. So please do not hold back, let us know what you think.
After you hear the presentation.
Hopefully not anyone inside.
I'll go get that next time.
Okay, and I won't know how to initiate that. Hello, folks, I'm Chief Frumley, Wichita Fire Department. I'm the Battalion Chief of Fire Prevention, and I was involved with the fire marshal and other people in fire prevention was trying to set up the enforcement teams this year for the fireworks. As Councilman Johnson said, these have been illegal for years, but this year we decided to try to enforce them. So we had mixed results, and that wasn't unexpected. So, but I'm going to start with. What, sir? Oh, thank you, sorry, folks. Normally I'm in trouble for speaking too loudly.
It's not a great acoustics room.
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, I'm Chief, as I said earlier, I'm Chief Scott Frumley with the Wichita Fire Department, and I'm gonna go over the fireworks enhanced enforcement teams here. We did a review, and the teams were done in conjunction with the Wichita Police Department. We only enforced on the days of the 3rd and the 4th, even though the period was over a 6-day period when people were allowed to use fireworks. And we spent a lot of time informing the public. We did presentations with the news media, sent out reports or publications in the paper and so forth to try to inform everyone that we were enforcing this year. So. Still had a lot of claims that people were not unaware of it, and I can understand that. So, the point of it was to improve safety, deter the illegal use of the fireworks, and educate the public. We did a lot of education, as we always do every year, and a lot of people have complaints about noise and other issues as well, and that's something we, of course, want to address. That's why there was a time limit from 8 o'clock to 2 a.m. for these fireworks to be operated on the days that it was allowed. So we sent out 22 teams. Those are kind of based on the fact that we have 22 fire stations. So the areas those fire stations serve, we use that as a focus for our 22 teams. We wanted to evenly distribute the enforcement throughout the city. Dispatch received 1,400 fireworks complaint calls. That was about a 57% increase over last year. Part of it might be because we also extended the period from 5 to 6 days for receiving the calls, but I think also people started making more calls because they anticipated enforcement basis, in past years when they might have been frustrated. So there were 51 reported injuries, and that was an increase of 15 over last year. Fireworks related incidents went up by 17 this year. And
what's an incident as
it could be it could be a fire related incident or some damage to a property, and some of them fairly minor. A lot of these incidents were people, and we try to educate people not to do this. They put all their fireworks in the trash can, as we told them, and maybe soak them with water. And then they put them in the garage. And next thing you know, the garage has caught fire, or they put it up against the building and so forth. So, the disposal of the spent fireworks seems to have significant issues for us this year. The dollar loss was down, but and that it goes up and down. depending on what catches fire, but it doesn't reflect that on July sixth, there was a $440,000 loss of a home. Because that's not within the reporting period. And so that was done by, that was from a bottle rocket, which has been illegal across the state. And it caught a shake shingle roof on fire, and $440,000 loss off of one firework. And 138 citations were written, so.
On that incident,
Mhm.
were you able to find out who sent the bottle rocket?
Yeah, and it wasn't deliberate, but yes, in fact, the owner of the property where the firework came over, and he was under the influence and apologizing profusely. He said, "I will fix this." Well, there's no way to fix it. The insurance agent's gonna have to fix that, but yeah. We determined that the cause of the fire was from a bottle rocket that landed on the shake shingle roof, so.
Give them a fine, citation, write them up.
Well, there are consequences. Most of them will be financial. His insurance company is fighting the other insurance company, but I'm sure he received a fine, so. But, he may not have received a citation that day. Mostly we're looking at the cause of the fire. You know, just because someone causes a fire doesn't necessarily mean that, there's consequences, at least, unless it's deliberate. If it's accidental, then there could be some legal consequences to someone, so. Yeah, I don't know what the consequences as far as legally was to that homeowner, quite honestly, so. But, as you can see, the yellow, I guess they're yellow or gold, indications on the map show, where the citations were issued this year across Wichita. We had, we tried to evenly disperse the teams, and we try to have them stay in the areas they were assigned, but some of the teams would find that the fireworks were, there weren't so many in their particular area, or they get called because they'd be overwhelmed in another area, and they tended to drift back and forth. I find myself in, over by 21st and, McLean and, or Amadon rather, and ended up clear on the east side of town because there was a very persistent complaint going on, so. These are the citation details broken down by district. District 1 had 14 citations received, and some of the other citations were districts who had a lot more. That doesn't necessarily reflect how much fireworks were going on. It may have reflected the success of the teams as far as enforcement and writing the citations and so forth. Some would be stalled with a particularly long incident or situation, and then other ones would be moved along fairly quickly, so. There certainly were a lot of fireworks to address, that's for sure. And
That's a month, that 2-week time span? All
nope, that was over 2 days.
2 days.
Yeah, that was over the 3rd and the 4th,
Respond to all that.
from 8 o'clock to 2 a.m. On both of those periods. So
Do they have to see them in order to find them?
no, actually, it's illegal to possess them in Wichita, whether they've been fired or not. And a citation I wrote, which I went to court to recently, the gentleman claimed he was just passing through. I didn't see him set fireworks off personally, but when I approached the house, I saw fireworks coming off that were illegal. He claimed he hadn't set any off, and I said, "Are those yours?" And he had some on the porch. He admitted to them. He says, "I'm just hauling them across town." They go, "Here's your citation."
There were 30 people gathered at the house in front of me
Mm-hmm.
with their kegs of beer and what have you to sit
Yeah.
down. And finally, after about 20 calls in our neighborhood,
Mhm.
thank God, the police came and wrote 2 citations.
Mm-hmm.
And that second night was the quietest night
Yeah.
we have had in years.
Right.
So I was most grateful,
Thank you, ma'am.
most grateful.
Sure.
I just wanted to let you all know, there's still food in the back if you want to get seconds, while it's still warm.
I do appreciate that, and quite honestly, the enforcement is uneven. We didn't have enough people to respond to all the complaints and respond to all the situations, but I'm glad we had some effect,
Thank you.
at least this year for you on this.
Thank you.
Okay.
Were you successful in your court appearance?
Yes, in fact, he's gonna take it to appeals court. He's not gonna do very well there as well. Because he admitted in court that they were his fireworks. The judge pointed out to me, he just admitted that they were yours.
It was his God-given constitutional right to shoot off fireworks. He wanted to know where it was in the Constitution that I could deny him the right to shoot fireworks. So, we got a report, as this nice lady reported, that there was a reduction in fireworks leading up to the holiday, but there was actually no reduction on the 4th of itself. It seemed to me, this is a personal opinion, people waited to the 4th to set them off, and it overwhelmed us, quite honestly. We did appreciate the thanks we did get for the enforcement program, and of course, we got some negative feedback. There's people that didn't think that there was enough reduction in the fireworks. They had personal experiences when they saw fireworks being shot off and we didn't address it. And as I said, there's a limit to what we can do. And then there was, of course, people that objected to the fact that they were getting citations or being inhibited in their, what they perceived as their rights to enjoy the 4th of July.
Constitutional God-given rights.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say personally, if we have the rules on the books, I appreciate enforcement. Cause
Yeah.
I really don't, as a citizen, don't like when we have rules, but there's nobody enforcing that. I think that just says the wrong thing to people. You know, if we're gonna have the rule, then have the enforcement, and if we don't have the enforcement, then we should change.
And as we talked about, enforcement is problematic, having the resources to do the enforcement on such an overwhelming situation, so. Staffing was difficult for us. We had a problem with officer safety. We didn't have backup ready for these teams. We had very few volunteered for the work. In fact, on the fire department side, a lot of them were people like me, chiefs, that you know, there was overtime offered as part of the incentive, and no one raised their hands for it, so, or very few did. Ended up chiefs being assigned to it, including the chief of our fire department. So, she was out there enforcing as well, so, I was quite busy myself doing that. We didn't have backup for law enforcement. It was a holiday, and there were law enforcement officers on holiday as well, on vacation, so they didn't have an excess of officers. The second shift, when they had the changeover that day, on both evenings, were informed, no, you're not going home tonight. For the PD, I'm talking about PD, you're not going home tonight, you're gonna stay over and do fireworks patrol. So that was a surprise to a lot of them, and they handled it fine, but that certainly wasn't what they anticipated, so. And we try to match a police officer with a fire officer, and the fire officers pretty much were the ones that wrote the citations. The fire officers are not equipped, trained, or experienced in issuing citations in hostile situations. Most of our operations crews will deal with, say, burning in a backyard or some situation like that when they might run a citation. And normally the situation's pretty much under control for the most part. But when you have people that are drinking and partying, or just they've got friends over, they're having a good time, and we show up and interrupt what they perceive as their good time, there's a lot of hostility and so forth. And we didn't have any real backup with PD because we had an officer with us, but there was times officers were calling for backup and so forth, and there just weren't the units out there. Everybody was busy, including our firefighters who were out. They were dealing with fire calls, medical emergencies related to fire calls, plus regular calls that they would normally deal with. So our resources were taxed. This is an incident where, I'll be honest, I'm the one writing the citation. I just coincidentally happen to be here. Yeah, you see my belly, right? Yeah. So, I think we have a video coming up of that. And the first 30 seconds has no audio, and you'll see, if you look quickly enough, that the woman on my left is pounding my arm with her fist, trying to knock my evidence out of my arms. The woman on the right is grabbing at the citation paperwork that I'm writing to a gentleman, and there's a police officer that is has a gentleman in his face, and he's actually not all the audio picked it up. There were specific threats made to the police officer, and the officer calls checks to see if there's anybody that could back us up if we had put out an officer in trouble. There was no one available.
So,
My focus was on writing the citation and getting us out of there, enforcing the ordinance. But, in any other situation, they would all have been taken into custody for assault. And I talked to a police officer later on, I said, no one had been taken in custody, there'd been a fight. He said, yeah, it's been an outright fight, fists and punches and kicks, there wouldn't been any restraining of people, so. So you'll see me bounce forward, it's not because I'm dropping anything, it's because I'm getting getting hit upside the back of the head, that's what I usually say. I don't know if I should say it in front of the councilman, but I got hit by a Roman cattle in the back of the head. It didn't injure me, but it's an insult, you know.
Send that one to me.
Is it the actual Roman candle or the flare of it?
No, it's an unfired Roman candle.
oh, like somebody.
Yeah.
There is some strong language at the end of this video.
Yeah. None of it came from the police officer or firefighters involved. But, actually, I'll tell you this, I spoke to the fire chief, she was out enforcing, and this, it wasn't alone, this experience for her. She had, spent fireworks thrown at her person and at her car as she was leaving the scene, so there are a lot of people, well, they've never experienced enforcement before, and all of a sudden we show up.
I've been doing this
Never mind.
every year and nobody ever comes.
Yeah, and that's
Nobody
why we work
complains,
very
is
hard
what
to
they say.
inform and educate people that we are enforcing.
Okay. I still expect people to behave well.
How's that working out for you?
You know, most of the time it works out pretty great.
Why don't we wait for her to boot that up?
Yeah,
Okay, she's gonna.
and as I said, there's no audio, you won't hear us 30 seconds. And we're fortunate we can't hear what this gentleman's saying right now. He thinks he's pretty smart, so,
Like, I love my city.
yeah, my God-given constitutional right. And he's making comments about our persons actually too, and offering a challenge. And so officer said, 10 years ago, we didn't know what it was. That's, this one was scratching my arm earlier. I'll get hit. Yep, I just got hit. I just got hit by one behind me.
I've got them on video camera, can they be held accountable for their actions? I mean, obviously. Thank you.
Sure.
And I'm sorry.
That's all right. So the officer asked if there were units available, and there were none available. And he actually was criticized by supervisors for not making an arrest because of the assault. And he never saw me being struck on the arm as well. So that I wanted to take care of the enforcement. I had other enforcement I had to do, and it wouldn't work well. So this was a situation with about 5 adults and some teenagers and of course kids. But we had one situation, this officer and I were with 20 adults and about 10 more children, surrounded, and I still wrote the citation. And there was a lot of hostility there, but seriously, yeah. So we received multiple complaints to this particular, that particular corner, and there were persistent complaints. And this, I'm not talking about this particular situation, the one with the multiple adults and the owner of the property said, yeah, we blow this neighborhood up every year, and we're gonna do it next year too. So we're gonna have to, it's gonna require more than two enforcement officers out there for next year, so, sir?
What were the locations of these hostile situations?
All over the city. This is my particular situation, but this was, near 21st and Avenue. This was near 21st and Avenue, so. We had a lot of confrontations with people, and a good number of the hostility we received was from large parties where there was $2,000 or $3,000 worth of fireworks being shot off, honestly, you know. Move on here. Only small amounts of fireworks are confiscated, so there were illegal materials left, and we had instances where we'd write a citation and leave the scene to go to another, down the block, and see them going back off and up behind us. We'd return, and the same people that received the citation were now still setting them off. But logistically, we couldn't handle all the fireworks if we confiscated, plus it would slow down the enforcement. We filled a shipping container full of fireworks. And I spent till 4 or 5 a.m. on each night documenting the materials that were confiscated and so forth for our prosecution if necessary and so forth. And we needed more teams. Even though we had 22, that wasn't sufficient for the amount of fireworks that were going off. And we needed more people on those teams and more law enforcement, quite honestly, because you saw the situation I was in. And as I said, I wasn't alone. There was other situations like that, so. And then maybe cover additional nights other than the 3rd and 4th has been suggested as well. But there was fireworks use on other nights, especially, well, as I point out, on the 6th is when that bottle rocket set that roof on fire and with $440,000 worth of damage. The sales permits collected $48,000 this year. We issued permits to have fireworks tents. They were $1,500 per tent in the city. Out in the rural areas outside of Wichita, I've heard that they can go up to $10,000 for a permit, is what the county charges. But those fees were used to pay for the enforcement efforts, which is basically paying overtime for law enforcement and fire. And there was a net revenue of $20,000, which I think went to the general fund. And as far as the fines collected for citations, just as they always do with any other fines, they go to the general fund. They're still in collection, and there's some that are going to collection agencies because people aren't paying those fines. We tried to publicize it as much as we could. We tried efforts to warn people. A lot of people told me it's just they're just going to take the chance. They wanted to use those fireworks, and they take the chance to get a $250 fine. And if you talk to some of these people in the outlying areas, they've spent $2,000 or $3,000 on fireworks. $250 is really no consequence to them. So we're not sure if that had a positive impact on safety in the city, quite honestly. It seemed like there was still plenty of fireworks going off, but the fees did cover our enforcement. But these efforts, as you got a little taste of, kind of, was a risk to staff as well. So, ma'am?
Well, and as I said earlier, I appreciated the enforcement of the rules, but considering what you shared with us and the fact that people didn't want to do this duty, I mean, it was seen as maybe a very negative activity, and I can understand that watching that video, and the fact that it does put people in such risk, and the fact that it creates a very, very negative, I mean, we're trying to create positive, interactions between law enforcement and the community versus negative. Are you giving end sort of thought on what? There's a lot of thoughts and a lot of input from people like you and across the broad range, and the city council and other people involved in this are all looking at options and trying to develop a strategy. We want your input on this. We want to let you know that we're not going to try to color this as some big success. It's the first time, and there's going to be some adjustments need to be made and some things to consider. And I'm not going to be making those. I'll be involved in helping inform, but there's going to be a review of this and consideration of what strategies we might use
in the upcoming season, so.
About the tents, do they some kind of way determine and say to the people who sell fireworks what you can and cannot sell?
That's a very good question.
To me, that is
Yeah.
where it's coming from, because lots of people use those tents as moneymakers, for good causes.
Yep.
So, to me, you should have some kind of guidelines for the county.
No, we don't enforce it in the county. The county has another, whole thing going on there, a whole set
But
of rules.
somebody needs to say to the people who run the tents, what's lawful to be sold and what's.
Well, we do within the tents within the city, and there's
Oh, you
signs
do?
put up.
Okay.
And the fireworks sold in the tents within the city are inspected by the fire department.
Oh, okay.
Contents of those tents are reviewed. They have to, as far as whether we actually take them and test them
Oh.
and develop a list. And then we do follow-up inspections to make sure those tents are still keeping those proper fireworks in there. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they accidentally get the wrong ones in there. But most of these fireworks that we see going off in our neighborhoods that go beyond the rule of nothing over 6 feet high or in either direction or flaming balls come from the county, across our borders.
So why is that there not correlation between the city and the county?
Well, cause there's the city and then there's the county, okay? All right? So they enforce they enforce their regulations and codes and ordinances, and we enforce ours there, okay? And theirs ours are more stringent, City of Wichita, for the most part, stands alone. And there's a few communities in Kansas that do enforcement and so forth, but in the city of Wichita, we pretty much stand alone. I've talked to people from other communities outside of Kansas, and either you have, quite honestly, no enforcement at all, you can fire whatever you want, or there's a total ban on fireworks. And they expressed surprise that we are kind of trying to meet a middle road here. And we may be able to make that work, but it's gonna take some time to adjust to that. Ma'am?
Two things. One, I went to go buy my fireworks at a little stand in town.
Mhm.
And when I got there, the girl said, well, all this stuff is for sale except for this. They just told us we cannot sell these.
Okay.
And she
And they
had
should,
that set aside.
they should have set aside good, because
Yeah,
that's what we
and
do.
set aside. She warned me ahead of time, you can't buy these.
Right.
They just came and told us we can't sell them.
I wanna
But
make
if
it-
I'd have come yesterday, I could've gotten them.
I wanna make it clear, that people that are selling those fireworks, they have a supplier that's supposed to supply them with these fireworks. And suppliers are the ones that should be delivering the proper ones, and often the people themselves, the vendors, are not knowingly selling illegal fireworks.
Yeah.
Until we show up and say, I don't know.
Right.
Sir?
Well, and one other thing,
Oh.
many of the companies in town can do mandatory overtime.
Companies?
Many, like Boeing, Beach, Cessna, they can do mandatory, you gotta work mandatory Saturdays.
That's what happened to the Wichita Police Department. Those people were held over, they received overtime. In fact, it worked out well for them, because it was also a holiday for them.
Yeah, but the
And
people
they-
who chose not to work that day, because it was offered, is there a way to?
I did not have a choice.
Well, I know, but you said you needed more people.
We needed
is what
more
I'm saying.
people.
You said more people, so a lot of
Yeah,
people
we need
didn't
more
wanna work
people.
that night.
Yep.
So, I don't know if there's a way to do some mandatory.
Well, if, the chiefs that, were told that if they could not provide firefighters for their areas, they would be doing the enforcement, and there was a lot of white shirts that night. So.
Yeah,
You've
there's
heard-
just not as many of you as there are of everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ma'am, sir. Oh, no.
Okay, before I go, I want to echo kind of what these two are saying here. Most of these things, we echo, we don't have resources and stuff to do this, so all I say is that you have to put the teeth with those enforcements in here, and those citations, and get them written in here. Nobody likes writing them here, but I tell you what, nobody likes to pay the penalties and the stuff of nature here. I don't like house insurance in here, but I gotta have it.
Yeah.
It goes up every year, so if there's a incidents or things happening within my neighborhood in here, I'm affected arbitrarily by people who don't do it in sports. And so you gotta have it, but I think if you put, we're gonna force that, because people in here, you're speaking to the choir. We ain't out there shooting fireworks. And the ones who need to be hearing this and the cost that it's doing, they're not here. And so all we do is help reinforce that, hey, find them, lock them up, whatever you gotta
So we appreciate your support and we appreciate your patience too, that you can, this is tough to do and
Yeah.
there's gonna be some adjustments need to be made, so.
We got you.
uh,
How many days did you say that people are allowed to park?
That's over a 6-day period.
Why is it so long?
That's another question a lot of people bring up, they suggest shortening it, so that's another thing that have to be looked at, so.
Because it seems this year I heard a lot
Ma'am?
of fireworks going on out.
By the way, I haven't finished the presentation, I think is what she's gonna point out, and then I have some questions that were answered in other data meetings, but.
Please remember to write as you're talking on your index card so you don't lose your question or comment and print so we can read it.
There you go. Sir?
You said the county regulations are different.
Mm-hmm.
Is that partly because it's a lower population density and they figure they can afford it?
Well, the regulations are different because they just don't enforce any regulations, other than the state regulations. And, I don't know the reason for it, but I know that there's a lot of revenue, as I stated, for the tent permits out in the county. They make a lot of money, on those tents. The permits reflect the value of the fireworks that are being sold there, which are a lot higher than the ones that are sold in Wichita, so. But that's beyond my understanding is, they're not gonna cooperate with us in that end, because they're enforcing their own ordinance, and I can understand that. They're not gonna restrict what's going on in the county just simply because Wichita's restricting things.
They're not gonna cooperate with you if there's too much money involved.
That's conjecture on my part, I suppose, but yeah, I implied that, but there is a lot of money involved in that, so. And so far, the only, I got hit in the head, but there's no bruise. It was a Roman candle, but, we're concerned things could escalate, quite honestly, so. And I guess that's the end of my presentation, but I guess, I was told that there was a, comments made at a former, Camila gave me this list of questions that were, and comments that were made at the, DAD meeting here for District 1. And I'm gonna go over them real quick, okay? And thank you, gentlemen, and be safe out there, have a safe shift, okay? All right. I'm gonna go over things that Chief Evans covered that maybe I didn't cover. He just wanna make sure that, that we do approve the fireworks that are allowed in the city of Wichita, and we do test them. We had 1,400 calls, that may included, came in with an extra day of complaint line, but that was 7% increase, I think I said that before. That includes all Sedgwick County calls, by the way, complaint calls. The dispatch covers the city and the county, but a significant amount of those are gonna be calls within Wichita. The mortars and firecrackers are the two highest causes of injuries reported. If you're familiar with the mortar, they're tubes that are used by professional, for the most part, fireworks companies, but you can also buy mortars legally, at least in Sedgwick County, and they're like a tube that'll send a projectile up in the air, and then they have the big flower explosion and so forth. That's considered a mortar. And sparklers was the third most common injury. We understand why that happens. The children will grab a hot wire, or even adults grab a hot wire, or a barefoot foot sits on a hot wire, and that's why you educate people to safely dispose of their fireworks and keep them under control, keep them in a bucket of water when they're used and so forth. A simple bottle rocket caused the most damage on July 6th, and as I said, that's illegal throughout the state of Kansas. So, our crews kind of did gravitate to higher call areas because we had a lot of people that were calling and persistently wanting someone to show up for enforcement. The problem is I would spend a great deal of time moving to that particular complaint call and pass up on opportunities. And I'd be confronted by the person who made the call that wanted to tell me their whole story. And they wanted to accompany me to where the fireworks were being shot off, and I wouldn't allow that. And I would spend 10, 15 minutes dealing with one thing when I could have gone to some others as well. But we do appreciate the calls, but I can guarantee you, we have more than enough to address on that night. Everywhere I turned, there were fireworks going off all around me. We did receive positive input for the support, and then we have received calls in opposition to the enforcement. He did make the statement that enforcement efforts were pretty dangerous with citizen interactions. So a cost analysis should be considered, considering the safety of staff. And we want to point out that fountains can be dangerous as well, you know, just these simple fountains. And a lot of them go over the 6-foot distance, by the way. So comments from the DAB was, the city is encouraged to stay the course. If revenue was an issue, then the fines can address it. And there were some comments made to use the same fireworks policy used in other cities. There were some questions that came up on how much were the citations. There were $250 minimum, okay? There was no follow-up on the firefighter that got hit. That was me, so. There was actually considered, because we had Axon's footage of that.
So nobody from that video was followed up with and given
Nope.
consequences for their behavior?
Yep. Right.
Wow.
That was I was asked if I wanted to, and I said I was asked, I didn't have this total, you know, it's gonna have to be considered by prosecutors whether it could be, followed up, but, personally, it's more insult than anything, not injury, so. And in fact, I was more focused on getting the citation written. If this happened to me right now, in a calmer situation, I'd have it, have them prosecuted. If the person does not pay the citation, it's up to the court, but it could go to a collection agency. And some people are set up on payment plans. There was a talk about designated areas, and that was considered, having designated areas where fireworks could be shot off safely. And the response to that was previous research to show that people would not cooperate with the designated area option. They would do in their own homes anyway, so. Most of the problems we had with property damage from fireworks is because of improper disposal of the fireworks. So we did have that one incident with the firecracker. By the way, I want to make a point. What I do in my neighborhood, by the way, I live half a mile from here, is I clean my gutters before the 4th of July. I get all those leaves out of the gutters. And then I also will wet down those gutters because fireworks will land on the roof and roll into the gutters. The eaves catch fire. We have an issue. I recommend that to everybody. That's my personal preparation for celebrating my God-given constitutional right to I clean my gutters. Of the phone calls, we got 287 calls per day in 2018. It was 207 per day in 2017. Training, there wasn't a lot of training for the fire and law enforcement on dealing with this specific issue. And writing citations is not something that comes easily to a firefighter. We don't have to do it very often. And we had one citation thrown out because it was not written properly. This is, they wondered why there was why injuries have increased. So the answer, and I don't know if I understand this, is the city is the only city surrounded by cities that have this ordinance, I guess. I don't know how to interpret that. We're not sure if people took this enforcement for granted, but with all the publicity now, I think they will take it more seriously next time. Whether or not they want to actually conform to the ordinance, that's a whole other issue. Any of the excess revenue goes to the general fund, and most injuries that occur, we don't know until someone goes to the hospital. We get a report from the hospitals. We ask them to send us a report if there's any fireworks related injuries. So. The comment was made that the funds that are not used are earmarked to go back into the general fund for the excess. Okay, so that was collected for the fireworks tents and so forth.
Okay, I'm hearing different things though. So Brandon said the funds in the general fund are earmarked to go back to enforcement next year.
That's what
Okay.
he told me.
It's
All
not
right.
decided. It's
Not
undecided.
decided?
Season the hallway, you guys, it's undecided.
It's undecided.
General funds is general funds until the council makes a determination.
Ah, wow.
There we go.
But so maybe that's a feedback item.
Yes.
We might consider writing on our
Yes.
cards,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there you go.
right?
And there was a question made about the 6-foot rule. That decision was made over 20 years ago, and we, 6 by 6. Consider, you have a control area where the fireworks are going off, and that firework fountain, for example, that goes 12 feet or so, gets knocked over, it projects across the room to people and structures. So we set the 6-foot rule. For safety's sake, walls being operated, and then in case there's an anomaly and it gets knocked over, some issue like that. I have a friend of mine who is has a license for fireworks, and he was doing a licensed job, and he had a mortar go off right next to his head. Yeah, it was, and he stayed fairly close to them when they're operating, and they have these squibs, they call them, and so forth. But it was supposed to go, 100 feet in the air or whatever, and went off right next to his head. He's got hearing damage, scarring of the face, and burns. So even these commercial fireworks can have and they do have mistakes all the time. And we inspect these commercial operations when they're doing fireworks, say at Florence Dumont and so forth. Ma'am?
I'm waiting for you to finish.
Oh, okay, I thought you.
No, I do have a question, but I want to wait for you.
And District 1, there was a comments from the public that District 1 had a lot. Do you want me to go over these? These comments?
Yes.
District 1 had a lot of homes with wood roofs. Shingle roofs are particularly dangerous for fireworks or any other type of embers from outdoor fireplaces and so forth. Shake shingle roofs significantly have more fires than, say, the asphalt shingles or cement, tile, and all that other thing. So there were some positive comments from the public. They felt this first initiative had gone well. This year was better than last year for fireworks. And there was a comment made not to compare Wichita to suburbs as far as the rules of why we're enforcing it. Can you help
And
expand
the
on that?
density between our homes.
Yeah.
Space between our homes.
Right.
In the city versus suburbs.
Yeah, because in the suburbs, there is clearance and so forth, and not only just from the fireworks, from the noise and so forth, but when your next door neighbor is only 20 feet away, that makes it's a big effect. So that's one of the reasons why we do enforce this ordinance is the noise problems, quite honestly. So there was a question as to what citizens need to change to get more staff to work on a shift. That came up. Well, there was overtime offered, but it's not enjoyable. I have to consider my retirement in the future, and I may decide to retire before July 4th, so I don't have to go through this again. We do find value in the fact that the fireworks help the youth groups and other organizations in the county that raise money, and we do appreciate that, and we try to support them. That's why that fee was only $1,500 compared to much higher fees that the county charges for having tents and so forth. And there were some suggestions to shorten the days. We heard that today. Why are they so long? That's a 6-day period. The number of days you can shoot off fireworks. You can do it through a 6-day period. Someone said that they were unhappy with fireworks enforcement because he didn't see us measuring the height of the fireworks. Well, we can tell if they're over 6 foot high. So, but we do test them every year. We have a list of approved ones, and some of those approved ones, in China where they make them, they may put a little bit more gunpowder in that too than they did the last one in the production line. So we'll test at least 2 fireworks and see on each batch to see if they're going to be appropriate. So there were comments made that the resources we use could be used for drug enforcement, and so there were other comments in that regard. So yeah, the density of the homes was brought up, and some people felt it was pointless to carry on another year with this ordinance. That's to be determined by our city fathers and mothers. So, and I guess I don't have anything to add from that. So you had a question, ma'am?
Well, I have a comment and a question.
Okay.
I'm one of them, I like bigger bang boom,
Uh-huh.
I do. Why can't people put in for like a license, like a garage sale? Go down, pay $100 to have a license to shoot fireworks off, and then I can just pop as many as I want. And then if y'all show up and I got my little license, y'all just keep it moving.
So that would require, agreement from all your neighbors though, wouldn't it? Right? So, now if you wanna shoot those big fireworks
Do I
off.
have to ask my neighbors to have a garage sale?
But, Jen, they're
No,
only
but you
enforcement,
have to have a permit.
they're only
No,
enforcement.
but if I go and pay the $100 for the permit, how many people in Wichita will go and pay $100 for a permit, and then rather than have to go to court to pay a $250 permit, cause I was popping illegally, and then I can just pop anything I want?
I don't
But
like
but it's
Well,
dangerous.
it's dangerous, and I have accepted that responsibility with my permit. It's dangerous to have a garage sale too.
Driving the car is dangerous.
Somebody walk up on your property and fall over and hurt themselves, they gonna take you to court.
That's not the same kind of energy,
Well,
right?
you accept all responsibility when you do those things. So it's on you, just like the guy with the bottle rocket. He accepted responsibility to pay for this lady's house when he blew it up.
You need to raise the funds.
And if you raise the fines, that's not gonna stop the behavior. What you want to do is to get revenue off of the bad behavior, and then you can train. Because if I'm required to have that permit, I go and pay the $100 for a permit so I can have a bigger bang of boom.
So, but instead, how about going outside the county and big a bang boom all you want?
Nobody.
Well, I gotta leave home. I gotta leave home. It's my home.
Yes.
So are we
I'm
putting all
just
these
saying,
ideas
no,
on
but I'm
cards?
just saying, yes, I did. And King Young County had the tickets pre-written, so when you walk up, you just hand them the ticket, and you keep it moving.
Actually, there was
You have to
suggestions that
put
we,
the address or something,
yeah, well, we do.
and the name, but have it kind of
Preloaded,
pre-written where, you
preloaded, so
know.
we move faster. Yeah, if you want
Yeah.
us to do more citations, I'm happy to accommodate you, man.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, let's do it right. I
There
don't
you go.
want you
It's a
getting
good
hurt,
suggestion. That
and
actually,
I appreciate your courage.
personally, that's what I did. I did pre-write my citations.
Okay, so you don't have to be there but like about 2-3 minutes to say, here's your ticket, and better off just do what they used to do, stick them in the mail, you got a ticket.
That'd be
Let them take it to court if you got an issue.
picture. That'd be interesting, right? Taking a picture of what's going on and then mailing the citation afterwards, and then there's no physical confrontation.
Cause
Difficult, it's difficult. You saw how difficult it was to see this video.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I know what you're saying, but at least you have less interaction with these people. If you go up and take a picture, because you left the fireworks anyway.
No, he took those.
Oh, I take one as evidence, and then I document it, and I take pictures of that evidence, and
Okay,
it's documented.
So,
Ma'am?
just sit.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
okay,
you. I
sure.
just thought we'd have a nice
I mean,
conversation.
I think the overall.
I feel-
My presentation's over, this is,
No, but I still say, if you gonna find me $250, just let me pay the $250 up front and let me just go and get my boom on.
Actually, there's people that have that opinion.
You'd be surprised, you might wanna try that one year and see how much revenue you generate.
Really, safety was our purpose,
Thank you.
not revenue. so.
Thank you.
Sir? Oh, actually, then I'll get to you, sir.
Yeah, you mentioned, the lack of personnel to actually enforce this ordinance. Has the fire department looked at what amount of personnel that they would need next year to adequately enforce the ordinance that's on the books right now?
Well, we could look at that. I don't think that, we'd be putting out a whole department out to cover the city until things calm down a bit. But just getting 22 teams together was a challenge. And as I said, a lot of the people that participated, that they made mandatory. For at least for the fire, overtime wasn't an incentive, so. But yeah, it would be easier to enforce if we had more people out there. Yeah.
I have two questions. Oh,
This lady's been waiting, can I?
Yeah, we've got her, and then this gentleman, and then you, Mr. Ruffalo.
Yeah.
I had a question that hasn't really to do with the fireworks themselves, but the fireworks stands. Did you notice any kind of an up, and this may be for the police, uptick in crime with people robbing the stands ahead of time? 'Cause
I think there was one incident but I'm not familiar enough to speak about it. I think there was one incident. I would anticipate that it happened out in the, county more, because that's where all the money is, so. Sir?
Yeah, so my question was kind of for everybody here, like, did anybody here actually buy fireworks last year, or was it your kids that bought them? Because we're not talking to the people that actually purchased them. What's the point of us all recommending what we should do if we're not, like, people my age probably buying them? Now, did any of y'all, by show of hands, buy fireworks last year? See what I'm saying? I understand, but it's like, y'all trying to give people advice, but y'all not actually even buying stuff. Y'all trying to regulate people that should be here, probably my age, they need to hear this. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So we need a better way, if we're trying to actually enforce something, we need to be talking to the people.
Before the 4th of July, we were in the media, we were doing education, and we were attending dad board meetings and neighborhood association meetings,
And again, how many 30 or 20-year-olds were those meetings, is what I'm saying. We're not actually
we
talking.
do also communicate, and this is something I don't practice, we communicate on Twitter and, some of these other social media things, Facebook.
Just
So-
based off those three hands, I'm just saying, a
Yeah.
lot of the people
Yeah, it's
that
a
are
valid
here
point.
recommending are not
Yeah.
actually.
It's a valid
smart.
point. Do you have a suggestion on how we should communicate? I mean, Twitter, I think, is right? That's, I don't know, man. How should
I
we?
mean, what you're saying is, we're not talking to the people who's actually affected.
Those people don't want to hear this, because it's off media, and they refuse to hear, and.
That's your opinion, though, that's not actually
It's
fact.
obvious.
I'm here, I mean, it's just really about either going or not, it's not about, oh, I'm reading it, you know, it's like, do I actually care, you know? Most young people don't care, we live in a riskier life, you know, most of y'all are probably more secure in y'all lives, you know, y'all want more security, quietness, you know? Younger people are not thinking about that, you know, they're being up past midnight, popping fireworks, hanging out with fam, grilling, so that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah.
You're blue.
Comes one suggestion. You ever thought about training and using civilians to augment you on passing out these citations?
Deputizing civilians?
Yeah, just have them as backup with you when you go out. And, train them. And just, like Brandon, he'd go out there.
I don't know about me.
You know, there was a program where the city deputized, I don't know if they deputized, authorized people to write citations for parking and handicap.
Right.
And they stopped that for, I don't know what reason, but I
They have
imagine
started it again.
they're gonna start again.
Yes.
And, something else too, if we want this code enforcement to work, I know this, nobody wants more taxes. But somebody gotta pay for this stuff. Somebody gotta pay for it.
Well, the city did find an avenue for it, and in fact, they collected excess funds on the tent permits. The problem was there weren't any hands raised saying, I want the overtime to do it, so.
So people don't want.
Nobody wants to do this.
You can use some of those funds that you collect from those permits, the tents that are left over. Why don't you use some of those funds for the following year as an incentive for those guys to volunteer?
That's a city council decision, and that's why we encourage
Yeah,
everybody
you
to
can put
take
that in
that
the card.
comment on your card.
And that has been, I think that's been some suggestions on some of this prior stuff, ma'am.
Are there any time periods where there's mandatory no vacation, no time off during the year for fire or police?
Well, firefighters don't get holidays off. We work through the
Well, I
holidays, for
understand that,
example.
but not everybody works through the holidays.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking, is there any time period within a year, within a calendar year, where there is no time off?
No, except that there's restrictions, for example, with fire department, we have to maintain a certain number of personnel. So we're allowed only
I'm
like
not necessarily suggesting.
three
that.
firefighters a day. Well, you can put it on your card.
You know,
We're looking at all kinds
that
of
would not make
things.
people very happy, but there are companies there are time periods that they don't allow time off because of what's happening in production or.
But we were looking for people, to work, on their days off
Mhm.
for money. I mean, for extra income. And we didn't have a lot of people volunteer for those.
It's a holiday.
But the people who are working are also very busy tending to fires and injuries and car accidents at that same time too.
My thought was similar to Mr. Roseborough, but sort of saying, have a volunteer, you know, a couple people in hats and shirts saying volunteer shame. I mean, like, I'm thinking people videoing, cause you saw all the people that were videoing what was going on in themselves, but have other people videoing saying, we're watching you and how you behave.
Yeah, you can put that on your card, but, I was in uniform with a law enforcement officer and I was still getting, so you can imagine someone with a video camera.
You're right, and you don't put people at risk, I mean, but I don't want you put at risk that way either, so I'm just
Sure,
trying to.
I mean, yeah, you gotta throw those ideas out, put it on the card and I really think I've taken over the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for not banning fireworks.
Is that yours?
Thank
Thank you for not getting angry.
All right, that was a great conversation. Again, if you have even more ideas and you need more note cards, let us know so we can get all of that turned in. And again, I want to encourage you to let us know your thoughts, whatever those thoughts are. And as Antar said, if you know other people who were out purchasing fireworks, try to see what they think as well. So just to well, before the recap, I want to recognize State Representative Casey O'Hobson is here. But just a recap of how we kind of got to this point. Oh,
Sorry,
Ben is back. School board member Ben Blankley's here as well. So initially, when we talked about the fireworks ordinance, there was option A and option B. Option A was talking about a location where you could go shoot off fireworks. Here in District 1, that was, I believe, McAdams and Dr. Glendie Park were the two options. And initially, our district advisory board and folks who came to the breakfast all supported option A. Well, not all, but the majority was option A. Option B was this enhanced enforcement. So folks showed up and said that that was my recommendation to the council just based off of what was here. After that went out, more people supported option B, showed up at our next one because the mayor and council decided to go back out and make sure we got more input. So the next two times we went out in these types of settings, it was option B. On social media, initially more people supported option A, so deregulating all the restrictions we have now. But then that became more option B as well. So we have to get out and make sure we get as much feedback as possible, but at that point, more people started supporting option B. And we've got to find a way, like Antar said, to get more people involved. And I've seen that there's young people who are working and doing other stuff and don't really feel like coming to these meetings, part of why we go live. But again, we want to engage more people and make sure that their input is a part of this. So please get as much input as you can and turn that into us. So I have a few updates. One, we just released the summary of what happened on September 6th. So we had our Taking Action on Violence meeting over at the center. And in that meeting, we were expecting about 100 folks to show up. More than 150 did. And again, just to recap that, it was a different type of meeting. It was no panel discussion. We didn't have a forum where folks come up on the microphone and, just continue to talk about maybe ideas and stuff. We forced everybody to sit down at the table together. So there were tables out there. You had to sit down. You had to talk about the violence you've seen, solutions that will come from that, and all of that information. So we released that summary. If you want it and didn't get it, let us know, myself or Camila.
It's linked in the newsletter.
It's linked in the newsletter, so read your newsletter if you got that. But there's a document that just kind of shows what folks said that they've seen in their community, so the different types of violence, and then solutions. And the purpose of the meeting was solutions. So we're gonna have that once a quarter, and we're gonna focus on solutions and what we can do to reduce violence. So we know we're at 39 homicides so far this year. We wanna reduce that going forward, and we wanna take an active role together. Not just one organization. It can't just be WPD. It's gotta be all of us. So we'll get that to you. Just for, if I can remember, out of the 38 homicides, I think 6 were in District 1. So it's not what everyone thought. We were one of the lowest. So again, we've got to work together to reduce that. So the homicides are bad, but all the violence is bad, from domestic violence, just pulling guns, to fighting, all of that. We've got to find a better way to have conflict resolution
and we've gotta engage more people with that. So that came out, and again, we'll get that to you if you don't have it. One cool thing that happened last month is Mr. Dozier in the back is an artist. He donated some artwork to the city of Wichita, and it was now included in the city's art collection. So that art piece you saw in the hallway coming back here, Mr. Dozier created that and donated it to the city. So we thank you for that. So he's a great artist. We definitely appreciated that. It looks great in the hallway. Outside of that, again, the aquatics plan options have changed quite a bit. We're gonna have a council workshop probably at the end of the month to talk about those options.
Edgemore Pool.
Edgemore Pool is actually not a part of the new plans. McAdams is a part of the new plans, so I'll let you hear what those are. The options that you will hear, there's three options. Option A is basically what it was before. Upgrading swimming pools to water parks. Option B is one water park, and option C is keeping our pools as they are. And there's more, information that will be presented at the workshop. Some of the final details are being done right now, but when that workshop happens, I will let you all know. I would encourage you to either attend or check it out online, and then, the council vote will probably come in the next month or so after that.
Who designed that?
Oh, Trish.
I was at this council meeting where they voted for the Fry plan, the 3 pools and the additional pool in District 1 and the just normal upkeep of College Hill Park. And I didn't realize, even though I was at that meeting, I didn't realize that Fry plan meant that the 3 pools that they were keeping, they were actually going to do a total high dollar renovation of, including 0 entries, blah, 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 blah. And I only realized that when I talked to the mayor, and then he led me back to the minutes, and I read back through that. Being there in the seat, I didn't realize that was the case, and was sort of gobsmacked that was the case. Because I know most of those neighborhoods, they love their pools as they are. They don't need $4 million 0 entry redos, you know what I mean?
So
that's, I just was wanting to get that clarification that was that 3 pool plan, because as somebody who's been very involved, I thought that 3 pools were gonna stay as they were, and then we were gonna get a new pool in District 1, and then College Hill was just gonna get its normal maintenance. I knew College Hill would get its normal maintenance, but I didn't realize that whole redo portion of that, and so I just wanted to say that out loud.
Yeah, so there's also a difference, in opinion on age. So when you talk to the high school students, the middle school students, and elementary school, they want the water park. They don't want the swimming pool. And when you talk to those of us over 20, some of us don't care, some of us really like the swimming pool. I was just at Southeast 3 weeks ago, and I asked the 2 classes I spoke to, I said, if you all had a choice, would you like a swimming pool with a diving board, a slide? And everybody was like, oh yeah, we like that. That's what they were used to. And I said, or would you like a water park? We want a water park. They wanted all that cool stuff. And I said, would you go, a water park is, so a small version is like the YMCA. A big version is like Rock River Rapids and Derby. They want either one. They want a small water park.
They have 2 sections in most water parks. They have 2 sections in most water parks. Under 12 and over 12, imagine that.
And they all have a swimming pool in it, but there's just like lazy rivers and other stuff that they like. Ms. Fran?
I would just like to know who designed this option, first of all, do you know?
Which option?
This one that we're now talking about, where there will be no other updates or whatever, who designed that?
The third option? That was led by the council, specifically the mayor.
Specifically who?
The mayor.
The mayor. Okay, then the second thing I'm interested in is now that you got all these poles running up and down the community, of course, that lowers the property, the value of your property. And then when you don't have something in the community that draws them there, that changes everything. So then where would the $4 million go?
So all of that will get presented at the workshop, but the entire plan and funding mechanisms and all of that is different. So it's not
The
a.
$4 million was allocated for McAdams Park.
But it was
The-
District 1 actually not.
the way it was written, from the meeting, $4 million was allocated towards a pool in District 1, not specifically
That
like
does make a difference. Okay, so what's our next step?
When the workshop happens, check it out. Those are not opportunities for back and forth with the community, but just get your information. And then at the council vote, you'll be able to show up and tell us what you think about it. I would encourage everybody to pay attention to the workshop and take notes, and then come let us know what you think, what we should do.
So we can attend the workshop?
Yeah, it's open to the public. It hasn't been scheduled yet. We are looking at the end of this month. It would be the 4th Tuesday. If we do it then, we're shooting for that, but it's not set in stone yet. I will put it out when it is.
Can you share all the ways you can see the workshop?
So you can see the workshop online at wichita.gov. We also share it on Facebook from the City of Wichita page. Or you can go up there. All the workshops are in the council boardroom at City Hall. The workshop started at 9:30, not 9 o'clock. So if you get there 30 minutes early, we'd love to have you there. We can have coffee and talk and stuff, but they start at 9:30. And then when those get done, the council may or may not ask questions, and then we'll follow up later with when that meeting will be scheduled. Ms. Burnett, and over here, then Anton.
Okay, so you go through the workshop.
Uh-huh.
At the end of that workshop, will we have any idea what the council is actually seriously considering? Because what I can see happening is that they come back into a meeting and do what they did in February a year and a half ago, where some plan comes out of nowhere, and from 5 pools it goes to 3. I'm a cynic now. I didn't start out that way, but this process has taught me that there are people on that council that one cannot trust. Many, 4, actually, in my opinion, which is not worth a whole lot, but I have been there. And that last meeting where all of those children came, that blew up, and the mayor said, okay, we just take everything off the table indefinitely. You know, and the adults are not behaving, but not just like adults, they aren't behaving like leaders. And what can we do about that?
We can continue to definitely show up. I will say this though, the word indefinitely was because what I wanted to happen did not work.
Yeah.
And what returning $4 million did not work. And the approval of what I didn't want to happen did not work. So we had to use a different word legally to move on. And the word indefinite was used just for that. But we are bringing it back up. That was the only thing. Now, I know the kids don't understand that part. And that to me was sad to see them hurt and crying like that. So they come back, I understand if they don't want to speak, but I would love to have them there at least just in attendance.
But one almost, I mean, you almost get the opinion, the impression that for some of those people, that's exactly what's staged to drive people away. If you keep getting smacked, I mean, like hit up beside the head, that was horrible. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
And then we get inspired by you because you continue to show up and fight the good fight.
I tell you know, and we're still in there. We're not gonna quit, but I'm just saying, this community is gonna get so tired of this. I know they're tired already. I mean, they were telling us that way back a year ago. We've done this before, and you know what happens, and we're going, oh, come on, please, just, and then you get there, and we've done every stinking thing they told us to do, some of it twice. And that's what they pulled that meeting. And yes, vote, please, people, because a number of those people are up for reelection. Is it next year or is it that year?
We all live in District 1.
2019.
Yeah, I'm just saying, well, no, they're not all from District 1. These people that are running for reelection, mine's taking a chance of going over to this county commission. I'm not sure if I'd be happier with him there or where he is now.
All right, young lady.
You were saying that there's no definite date for the workshop, so we just supposed to show up at 9:30?
No, I will definitely put out the newsletter and everything when it is. We are shooting for the end of the month, but until I am told by the city manager that yes, it's at the end of the month, I try not to tell you that it will be. I'm just letting you know that it could be, so you can get ready for it if it does happen.
Okay, so you're gonna put out a newsletter, where's the newsletter, be here?
Yeah.
Pick up one here.
So we email that out. You can always call us and we'll let you know. You can always call.
Everybody know how to call us, and I'm one of them.
Okay, so you can always come up here and talk to Camila, and she can let you know if you're not online or checking your email.
I will volunteer, you're on our District One breakfast call list. I'll volunteer Miss Julie, who's not here. We love Miss Julie to call people who's on that District One reminder list for breakfast.
Yeah. We'll make sure you know about it.
Okay, thank you.
Anton?
Yeah, so I was wondering, has there ever been a study done on the impact the YMCA pools have had as far as people migrating there instead of going to public pools to swim? Because most of the people I know would just go swim at the Y now, just because that's what's up. And I see the city likes to fund the Y by building multi-million-dollar bond funds, and I just wondered, because probably when y'all was growing up, it probably was just parks and it wasn't YMCA's around, and now there's YMCA's like, seems like every corner to the YMCA, just, and they're building one right across 17th Street now, right?
It did,
I don't know if the public can go to that one, or if that's just WSU students or what, but just, do you know if there's ever been a study about that?
So we did a different kind of study. So the YMCA on campus on it'll be right off of 21st Street. That will be open to the public. That won't start getting built though anytime soon. I mean, it'll be a couple of years. So the study we did was looked at YMCA memberships. And when we were looking at the difference between Edgemoor Pool and McAdams Pool, and my argument for access, it was that. So around Edgemoor Pool, there was more than 6,300 people who had YMCA memberships. So that meant they could get to the Y, use the YMCA pool, water park. Around McAdams, it was about 3,200, so half of that. And so that was part of the argument, was the folks around McAdams don't have that same access that the folks around Edgemoor do. As far as getting there, we didn't look into that part, but when you ask the young people in the area and even some of the parents about transportation and getting out there, a lot of the folks in the Edgemoor area had that ability, and McAdams did not. So you had a lot of kids that were walking where they needed to go, or riding a bike, or hopefully catching a ride, and we didn't see that same thing in the Edgemoor area. So my argument for McAdams was more about the access. The kids had issues getting there. And if they had it, they wanted it, the kids wanted it. That was who I talked to. It wasn't, no offense, it wasn't all the adults. I went and talked to the kids about, if you had it, would you use it? Would you walk across 13th Street to go over there? Would you walk through 15th Street, through the park, or down 17th Street to actually go use it? Yeah, because it's in the neighborhood. So that was my argument for that. And again, bus routes, bike routes, all came into McAdams. With Edgemoor, you got a quarter mile, you got to walk off the bus route. There was no bike route. We just built a sidewalk that's really getting utilized, but access is a little bit different. Saw a hand here, and then you, Mr. Hall.
So when you say the Y on, excuse me, on the Innovation Campus is gonna be open to the public, that still requires a membership, correct?
Yep. Mr. Hall?
Well, back to Edgemoor Park, the statistics that people keep talking about going down and down and down, a lot of that was brought about by the city management in decreasing hours, decreasing days that the pool was open, so that people was not participating, they put the hours where they couldn't participate, instead of maintaining the same schedule that they had.
You talking about Edgemoor?
Yeah, and Edgemoor, there was people for years, the streets were lined going up, the kids going back and forth to the pool, all over the place.
So that actually was the argument for McAdams. Edgemoor was the third most used pool while it was open, but the problem is that it had over $1.5 million worth of repairs needed, because it was losing 1.5 feet of water a week.
Well, they didn't study that correctly, because they said that it was 110 degrees out and it's losing a foot to evaporation. There was no indication of any studies that had a leak that bad. If it had been a leak that bad, there'd have been a whirlpool out there.
So according to them, it is significantly damaged, and it was the infrastructure of the pool that had nothing to do with the heat piece of it. I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying that was what I saw.
I know, but they kept telling you falsehoods each time they spoke about it.
You were gonna get your pool back. And also, they talked about
So it's, I'm sorry, but that's the way the path has been, as I observe it from, but there's another little statistics that's out there, and how many people die each year because they can't swim. Then we have the city making cleanup videos of having the kids walking along the river.
Right.
That they haven't had any training on how to swim. So, it's not a real thorough approach.
So my personal opinion would be all of our pools are open.
That's right.
But I'm just one vote.
Well,
So I support that.
I know.
I would love to see Edgemoor and Manhattan. So.
That's, from the standpoint of watching it happen over the years, and each time get another falsehood told.
I hear you. We talked about that too, staffing and the hours, all of that can be improved. So in these new options, all of that has changed. So the pools will be open from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and I think 8 AM to 8 PM, something like that.
But then they said, well, staff, the budget didn't allow staff, so they cut back on staff, so they shut down.
Yeah, I said the same thing, I'm there with you.
That's it.
But they can spend $84 million building a building.
And getting into some of the, I'll get to in a second. On some of that though, a lot of that comes from the Star Bond District, so the taxes collected in that area will actually pay for that. Out of our CIP, I think we are committing, it's still a lot, but we're committing, I think, $19 or $20 million to that. The whole 81 million, a lot of that comes from the Star Bond. Mr. Rhodes.
I was just actually, one time they were saying to move the Edgemoor pool just a little bit so it would stop that leak and to put a new pool in. I guess that's completely dead now, right?
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, but at one time, that was one of the things, one consideration.
2011.
And also, every pool that does get closed will have a splash pad. And I will say, I was very skeptical of splash pads. I still know kids would rather have the pool, but the splash pads look pretty cool. We haven't released any of that publicly, but we saw a few sketches of what they would look like, and it actually kind of surprised me. So I think when people see that in those areas, and especially out in the south part of Wichita, because they don't have an opportunity right now for a pool or a splash pad, I think the kids out there like it. So just, when you think about splash pad, we are not talking about Riverside, and we're not even talking about what's at Fairmount. It's way better, it's like that times 10, and I'm still shocked by what they meant with a splash pad. It's like a splash park, really. But once those, once we get through, I believe the pool workshop will have some of that, I believe, for the council vote, so the public can see what we've seen.
Will we keep the building at McDonald's, the swimming pool area? Will the splash pad be right there?
Assuming we don't get a pool there, yes.
Oh, thank you.
Again, we still gotta vote on that, but. Ms. Janet?
Y'all have yet to hear splash pad save a guy's life from drowning. But
I'm with you on
that being said, we're here for history. They've lied to him so many years, I'm sure he's tired of the lie. But with the new whatever coming on, we have to look at it with open eyes, open minds, and see what is best for our community. That being said, I want a pool. And if we're gonna build a pool, make it a year-round pool, not just in the summertime, so that we build capacity in that pool. And the thing that I've learned, how do you close the program? You're underfunded, undermanned, you make it inaccessible, you make it inoperable so that nobody can utilize it or access it whenever they need to. And then you say, well, nobody's using it, let's close it down.
All right, so that, I'll make sure I get you all more information on the aquatics plan, once we get all of that solidified. I know that's very important to everybody in here. Aside from that, I do wanna encourage you all, if you are gun owners or no gun owners, please keep those guns locked up. We continue to see
Yes.
guns stolen from vehicles in this city. I think more than 400 this year so
There
far.
ought to be a law.
And we want responsible gun ownership. So if you're leaving your gun in your vehicle, even if your vehicle's locked, people can still break in and steal it. So try to keep those locked up, because again, when those guns are stolen, then they get used in crime. And that adds to this debate that we're having. So if you do have a gun, please keep that locked up.
That's true.
One last point I also want to make, when we talked about enforcement on the 4th and not having enough folks, we still don't have enough officers in our department. They are running thin, and I just went for a ride with one of our, I think he was a captain, for like 30 minutes, and saw how stretched our department is, and everything he was trying to coordinate on his own, and getting people to respond and getting officers to respond from across the city. So that's what they're doing every day. And then we think about what happens on the 4th. So we need to hire more officers, and we're starting. We need to find some money to continue that. And if we get enough, then we can really get into the community policing I know we all want to see, where officers are getting out of vehicles and walking around and talking to people, getting to know our young folks, and doing all of that. Right now, it's still call to call to call. They get in and they've got 20 calls they have to make, then they have to try to prioritize what's going on, and it's just really tough. There have been folks who got in an accident and had to wait a couple hours for an officer to show up. So we need more officers at the end of the day. Ms. James.
Going back to history, the problem with the police and the fire department is a city cost problem. You remember when they canceled those classes for like 2 years to train these officers and stuff because of funding? Now it's coming back to bite us. And so, if we don't learn from this, we are doomed to repeat it again. And so, let's keep in mind as we move forward, yeah, we're on an upswing, but as with all things, as we go up, we'll be going down sooner or later. Let's look at, when we look at budget and say, well, let's cut that out because we don't have the funding. We're paying for it now because we didn't have the funding then. That's why we're short. So we need to have better stopgaps in place, so when the economy does tank, that we don't put ourselves back in this hole again. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so my last update, Camila's got some information for you about the grants and other things. Just remember, in December, our breakfast will not be here. It will be at the center. And we're doing that because the Taking Action on Violence meeting will be at the center right after our breakfast. So you can go there, eat breakfast, and please stay for the meeting.
At the center.
At the center. 11th and Minnesota.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So we will be there. Breakfast will start at the same time. I'm just saying it now because I won't see you until next month, and I'll remind you again next month. But we're gonna have our breakfast there, and if you stay, we might even have some extra food for lunch. But we want to continue this discussion. Everyone who showed up to the first meeting wanted to continue in December. Hey, that'd be awesome. We love it. So I wanted to give you that. While Camila's coming back, there's a sign in the back I'll bring up here. If you all have your, have not heard about the District 1 grant, we still have money available. Councilwoman Williams had allocated $124,000 toward the grant. Thus far, we've spent about $50,000 of that, so we've still got money left. You can apply for up to $1,500. It is income-based, and you can use it for sidewalk repair, dead tree removal, some deed work on houses, or a special project. And the sign I'm gonna show you is a special project for like a neighborhood association. So if you wanna let people know when your meeting is, where it is, you can put that on the sign, you can put it out and let folks know. We do that at Crestview Heights. It works. I know Ms. Janet does it for A. Price Woodard. So it's pretty cool. I'll turn it over to you. I'll model that.
Yay.
So this is an old neighborhood association sign, that the city had. I just wanted to show an example of like rain resistant, weather resistant. You can put your foot on it, put the stakes in the ground. So several of you went to a sign company and made a special grant application. You could get some. And sometimes companies have magnet letters where you could stick a magnet on it. Or with technology these days, I'm pretty sure there's one that has some form of a plexiglass where you can maybe slide a sign in and out. So we need some people to do some research. Camila can't do it all, she's trying her best. But if you know of a sign company or anyone you want to suggest, This could be a huge measure for every neighborhood association in District 1 to apply for a special grant. Comments, questions, concerns?
So the special grant means that you can fill out the application and get the money to go towards the, getting the sign.
Yes, so let's say you needed 10, because your perimeter, or 10 to 12 signs for your area within your boundaries, so you can remind people. And then the person whose yard it goes in has to approve, and then it has to be behind the right of way. Where's the right of way at, everybody?
Sidewalk.
Behind the sidewalk, and if you don't have a sidewalk, it's where the sidewalk would be. That's a commercial break for right of ways. Seriously, any other questions?
Yeah, so,
Yes.
but I could get a sign made where I could put like monthly meetings on it if I want to clean up on it.
No cleanup.
I mean,
Not put cleanup on the sign yard, that's the only,
National
that
Night Out.
neighborhood night out and meetings.
Yeah.
Neighborhood night out and meetings, no
No
cleanup
cleanup.
info can ever go posted in the yard.
That's like public advertising.
Yes, ma'am.
How long are the funds available? Is it through this calendar?
Use it or lose it.
Okay, so they'll be there until they're used up.
Yes, ma'am.
the leftover money, will it be filtered over for next year for 2019?
Yes.
2018?
Yes. Yes, yes.
I'd like to recommend Titan Sign Company, cause they made our sign like that, and we got 8 of them for $250.
Titan,
Titan Sign
as
Company.
in South
On,
Washington.
South Washington. You can negotiate, and if you go as a neighborhood, you can probably get a better deal if all neighborhoods combine and go for it. You probably even get better deals. So I highly recommend them. They do support neighborhood objectives and stuff, and they make them just like that. And we got 8 for $250, and then somebody stole 2 of them.
Councilman Johnson, are you okay if I do a few more announcements? Okay, here's some quick ones, real quick. Whether or not you like Halloween, we are having some trick or treats around town. They're in the newsletter. Specifically here at Atwater, we like to make a plea for donations or for you to decorate a car or a trunk. And if you have any freebies from the organization or somewhere you work with that would like to give them away, we'll take them all the way up until the day of Halloween, 6 to 7:30 here in our parking lot. This is in collaboration with a social group called Elite Ladies in Wichita. And so this will be our 6th annual trunk or treat in our parking lot. Last year we did not have one, but we brought it back. Partners for Wichita has a Safe Streets Coalition grant, and if you would like to take some of these home to someone you know, this is called a deterior bag. There is a grant for 2,000 of these to go out in Wichita. This is to dispose of old medication, to keep it out of the hands of those who are addicted to medication such as opioids, or young children who like to get high on your medication in your cabinet, and you may not know they're taking it because you have 5 bottles with 30 counts in them. Let's just go there, that's real. So you can put pills or liquid in here and dispose of it at home. Think of it like an Alka-Seltzer tablet. That's the best way I could describe it. Again, I have 100 of these in this building alone. I would suggest you take some to your neighborhood associations, but give them to the adults and not the youth. It's not a toy.
I need 3.
You need 3? I will have them at the front door as you go out in a box. And I can have some sacks if you would like to take a sack. But I'm a board member with Partners for Wichita, so this is a way we can give back and help out our district and our whole entire city with the opioid crisis. Yes, ma'am.
Steve came home with one of those from the meeting, and I think it's a great idea. But if you have people that are cleaning through their cabinet and they have a lot, you can only put like so many tablets in each one of those. So just so that you all know, at the Walgreens at Central and Hillside, they have a lockbox where you can take your medication in and they will slide it into the lockbox and it is gone.
Your husband brought a small one home. This one will take 45 pills.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I just did all my vitamins.
This one will take up to 45 pills, 6 ounces of liquid, or 6 patches, medical patches.
Add water.
All right. That's it for me, unless you guys have any questions, concerns?
Well, I would like to make a comment. This is probably the first meeting I've been to here that we've utilized the podium correctly.
Oh, Mr. Hogg, guess what? We have a new microphone. And you hadn't been at that for me to show you.
Yeah.
We can actually move it around now.
I just wanted to let everyone know that, I do a family movie night with a local business here in town. We show movies once a month, and this month's movie will be The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, and we'll be showing it at the center on the third Saturday of this month. At 8 o'clock, yeah, the center on 11th Street.
11th of
It's like
Minnesota.
11th of Minnesota.
It's 11th of Minnesota. If you go to the corner, you'll see it.
You can't miss it.
It's October 20th, though, I believe that's the third Saturday next month, at 8 o'clock.
Awesome.
I didn't
I
bring
ate
it with me.
church.
I'll have some up here Monday, I'm gonna bring some here, and they'll be out and on social media as well.
Alrighty, so we are at 11 o'clock. I want to thank the young ladies in the back that helped with breakfast and get this room set up. Camila went to the front, but thank you all for being here again. I will see you next month.
And College Hill also does trick or treat for those who got grandbabies and children. But our College Hill rep left before she could announce it, so.
Thank you, Ms. Jenner.
Come to trunk or treat it down water first. Don't forget. I don't know what I want to go first. Yes, you want to go to grandma. Everybody be looking for you. I got all kind of candy. Yeah, like my grandma.
I didn't have to donate, I got all kind of candy. He said, do I want to do I
You can leave your cards on the table. We'll pick them up. Leave the cards on the table.
Is your mom packed already?
I think so.
I'm the president of the travel committee at McGann.
Okay.
And she was so glad when she got a chance to go. She was really glad.
I think so probably.
She'll have a good time. Really remember when she will have a good time.
Thank you for doing that.
You have a good day.
Yes, 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 yes.